We're gearing up for a big, juicy burger battle next week. Shake Shack kicks things off on Monday with its earnings. That stock falling today after SunTrust downgraded it to hold from buy. SunTrust cautioning investors that Shack's transition to a single delivery partner could pose some new risks to sales. Then on Wednesday, we'll hear from Wendy's, the fast food joint, hoping strong earnings will add to this year's gains. And we round out the burger bonanza on Thursday with earnings from Beyond Meat. That stock is up 54% this year, but still down almost 50% from its all-time high. That's been quite a ride for that name. So which stock would you bite into ahead of earnings, Tim?
Well, I tell you what, if you look at Shack, it's kind of a mixed story. It's up 25% year to date. That was off of a pretty painful fourth quarter. And if you think about the fourth quarter guide and where they are, again, the headwinds coming from delivery, I think, are pretty well telegraphed. We're down to 3% or 4% comp. And I think, again, the market's expecting that. It's really what they're going to guide on the second half of 2020 in terms of restaurant and gross margins around 23%. I think that would be a relief. I know that in the environment here where restaurant stocks have been proven to be defensive, this is a high multiple one, unlike a McDonald's, but I like Shack into these numbers.
Chris, the Shake Shack has had a funny chart, up 40% in a year, but really most of it is the last 3 months if you look at this move.
This is a big level here, this kind of high 60, low 70s. If it can absorb the downgrade today, I think bullish development. The best chart among the group, though, is Wendy's. McDonald's chart, fairly good, too. I think those are the two leaders in this space. I'd be reluctant to be a buyer of Shack here, given the downgrade. Wendy's is the best chart.
Wendy's coming out with breakfast here soon.
Well, I'll tell you, but the way Shack traded today, I thought was pretty impressive. In a down market with a downgrade, it closed at the highs of the day. So now if I think about it from a risk-reward perspective, I'm more on Tim's side. I want to buy it, right? I've already had the sell-off ahead of earnings. People are concerned about that. Clearly, there's buyers in there scooping it up. So I've got a great risk reward going into earnings because, you know what? All they have to do is do a little bit better. And I think the sentiment switches.
I was just thinking that because they had already warned us about the disruption from going to this single delivery.
Right, so that's all in there.
A little bit better than
exactly.
Maybe you get this bump up.
Very low bump.
I'm sort of with Tim and BK. The stock went from 105 to 60. It flushed a lot of people.
Did you work at the Shack?
I did
do we
work
have footage of that?
I'm sure we do have gratuitous footing.
Anyway,
I don't know if the cracks that.
Did you wear the hairnet?
No, I didn't wear.
There it is.
There it is.
No hairnet.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Wow.
Fancy.
Oh, wow, fancy.
Look at that. No,
did anyone
seriously.
eat what he was serving?
Of course, I did.
You
no,
did?
no gloves?
You cooked for
All right,
yourself?
you want to stop? It was
gloves?
before the restaurant
No wonder the
opened.
stock was down today.
The hot dogs, by the way, you split them down the middle. You put cheese in those suckers. Outstanding. Long the stock into earnings. Very interesting with a 25% short interest. People have gotten squeezed in these names before. It might happen again on Monday. And thank you for allowing me to work at the Shake Shack. It was a wonderful experience.
Good man.
Really
Good
got an
man. At the
inside
helm.
look. Inside look. Okay, but we didn't talk about Beyond Meat at all. Who's got a thought about that one?
I think the most compelling thing about the chart is the short interest is 22%. And the stock actually acts pretty well here in spite of that. Is it a big holding? No. Should it be? Probably not. But when you get the situation where the shorts are so concentrated in one name, if one thing goes right, there's a squeeze. So Beyond Meat, I think, a candidate for a squeeze here.
Does valuation feel right here?
I'd have to look at where it trades relative to its peer group, but I think the key takeaway is when you look at this group, and I think Tim hit on it, they can actually be defensive in a tough tape, and you saw that from some of these names today.
Yeah, I mean, again, in a tough tape, they can be defensive, but ultimately, a name like this, if this tape, in a world where we were, wrestling with S&P, 3,300, et cetera, like, I'd say you get out of the way of these high multiple stocks, and I think you had a chance to see some of that today, even if this one was somewhat defensive.